Coming up today, October marks that time of year when people around the world are reminded to get their breast cancer screenings. But for this woman, her routine exam was anything but. Her remarkable story just ahead. Good morning, I'm Jessica Lovell, and welcome to the Morning Medical Update. Statistically, a woman living in the United States is diagnosed with breast cancer every 2 minutes. It happened to our guests last Thanksgiving. Tracey Caton is here to share why people, especially women, should be routinely screened. So good to have you, Tracey.
Thank you.
Tracey's breast surgical oncologist, Dr. Jamie Wagner, is also with us. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you two here together.
It is wonderful to be here on this side of this journey.
It is. Well, we're going to learn more about that here in just a moment, okay? Receiving a breast cancer diagnosis, as we know, can be shocking, and it was especially so for Tracey when she discovered her cancer was rare and she had no family history. Here's Janine Kiesling.
In the last several years, 52-year-old Tracey Caton has faced more hurdles and heartache than some people endure in a lifetime. But remarkably, when it came to her breast cancer diagnosis, Tracey didn't blink. And with the help of her team at the University of Kansas Health System, she attacked her cancer head-on.
I had no symptoms that I knew of that led me to believe that I had anything.
Despite physically feeling fine, no history of breast cancer in her family, and her self-exams all appearing to be normal, Tracey Caton never missed her routine mammogram every November.
The last two, I got called back. The first time was for the right side, which just ended up being like calcifications, so that one was fine.
And Tracey assumed this time would be fine too, but it wasn't.
They saw something they didn't like, so we did a sonogram and took pictures. They still saw stuff that was questionable.
The Tuesday after Thanksgiving, Tracey had a biopsy, and within days, she got the news they found cancer, which they quickly would learn was in both breasts. She met with Dr. Jamie Wagner and the care team tasked with saving her life.
After we met with all of them, my best friend and I went to lunch, and she just said, "You know why I'm not scared for you?" She said, "Because these doctors are the most amazing people ever." And she was right. They've given me the best care that I could possibly have.
Tracey had a double mastectomy, followed by 4 rounds of chemotherapy. And because her cancer was hormone-based, she had another surgery to remove her ovaries. By midsummer, when everything was completed, Tracey got to ring the bell, a tradition marking the end of someone's treatment, and for Tracey, the beginning of a new chapter in life. Grateful, she took the steps available to save her life.
I just wanted to be preventative and do everything I could for my life, because I feel there's a great life out there for me, and I want to go live that and enjoy.
Tracey, so good to have you today.
Thank you.
I know it's an emotional time.
It
so
is.
Just
Thank you.
Thank you for just sharing. And,
Thank you.
I want to talk just about how you're feeling today, physically, first of all.
Physically, I'm feeling actually pretty good. A little tired from the new medicine I'm on, but yeah, I'm sleeping pretty good and just feeling great, actually.
Emotionally speaking, I mean, as you were watching this piece, you know, I know you tear up. I know it's emotional for Dr. Wagner as well.
It is.
What are you feeling when you see yourself reflected back in that screen?
I feel like I'm proud of myself that I got through all of this. And as you know, I was kind of alone. I had my best friend and 2 of my best friends, but my family dynamic was no longer a part of that due to other circumstances. But I had a great work family, and I had great friends and a great team, medical team, and that's what got me through it.
Are you through with the treatments?
I am.
So with no family history, women tend to think that they're safe from cancer. I mean, that's what pops into our head. But statistically, I guess only 15% of women diagnosed have a family history. Is that correct?
That's true.
Yeah. Did you feel safe from a possible diagnosis because you had no family history? Is that what you were thinking?
I did.
So what made you get a screening?
It was just something I've always done since I was 40 years old. It's something that I go preventatively do for myself because I want to know that I'm as healthy as I can possibly be.
really smart. I know you love to hear that.
I do love to hear that.
Women doing what they're supposed to do. So Tracey has no family history, and on top of that, she was diagnosed though with a rare cancer. Dr. Wagner, what made it so rare? And why was it so aggressive?
Well, it was more the fact of how to find this particular type of cancer. Tracey has an invasive lobular carcinoma, and about 15% of breast cancers that we see are invasive lobular carcinoma. But it is how they develop, and then ultimately that pattern of spread that makes them tricky, because of just that histopathologic aspect of things. It likes to line up in a single file line and just creep one cell after another, and even like jump spots in the breast. So as a result, unlike the most common type of breast cancer, invasive ductal carcinomas, lobular carcinomas are often more advanced by the time we find them because they don't make masses. It's not something you can frequently feel. Sometimes they're even very challenging to find on mammography. And so that's really what makes this particular type of cancer a little bit more of a challenge.
Oh, so is it true when breast cancer is caught in the early stages, the survival rate after 5 years can be 99%?
It can for some patients, absolutely.
Which, of course, why screening makes all the difference.
That's right.
What difference did it make in this case? Just Tracey staying up on it, booking it, showing up for the appointments.
Yeah, so many aspects of what you just touched on. By the fact that Tracey was getting her routine screening, and it's not just getting it every year, but it's also that comparison. So by getting it every year, that also is what helps us identify things, because we see what's normal. So then the smaller things, we've got a good comparison, like, wait, that wasn't there last year. That additionally helps in that early identification piece. For Tracey, a very challenging type of breast cancer was found very early. And then that got her into the process, and with the additional workup, we end up finding a whole lot more.
Well, let's take a look at what you were seeing, because you provided us with some images. Walk us through what we're looking at here.
So this is the initial diagnosis that Tracey had, and we put the little yellow starburst there because to a lot of eyes it would probably be challenging to see. Of course, you see it once we tell you right where it is. But this was the original finding that brought her back for additional diagnostic mammogram as well as an ultrasound. And ultimately that was biopsied, and that was the first diagnosis of breast cancer. The other thing is we also looked at the right breast. Her initial imaging was not done within our health system. It was really when she came for that second opinion and saw our team. We always do a review of the images that have been performed outside and then determine what additional imaging could be helpful or might be missing. And we were able to see this area in her other breast. Even on the outside imaging, our radiologist said, something isn't quite right about that. And then ultimately she had a breast MRI. And with the breast MRI, we were able to see an area in the left breast that had been diagnosed, a second area in the left breast, as well as that area that we were seeing on mammogram. We had a correlation on the MRI. So ultimately, from all this additional imaging, Tracey had additional biopsies identifying that she had more than one spot in the left, as well as a breast cancer in her right.
And then Tracey underwent multiple screenings and tests after that first detection by the mammogram. Is that normal?
Absolutely. So a screening mammogram, that's all it is. It's a screening. It's trying to find something initial. And then from there, if something abnormal is identified, we bring patient back. And that type of workup is what we refer as a diagnostic workup. Very commonly a diagnostic mammogram. There's a lot of additional views that we're able to obtain. And then it is frequently coupled with a diagnostic ultrasound. Once we get into the diagnosis, that's where additional things like MRI comes into play. And MRI was 100% indicated based on Tracey's initial diagnosis. She also has some areas of dense breast tissue, but more importantly, she had an invasive lobular carcinoma. And we know that MRIs better understand and can better illustrate the full extent of the cancer in this specific type of cancer, as well as find the additional sites like what we saw. So it was a perfect workup on the imaging. I'd just like to put the little plug in that a lot of times people think if they have a diagnosis of breast cancer that 100% of people need an MRI, and they do not. There are very specific indications for MRI, which Tracey had. but not everybody needs an MRI, and that is part of that process that your treating team can help discern.
You mentioned second opinion, so I want to go back to that. How important is a second opinion, and how would a patient like Tracey, who is somewhere else, know to come seek you out?
Right. Second opinions can be very important. I always tell patients, and sometimes I'm the first opinion, and they ask, should I get a second opinion? Where you get your consultations, first opinion, second opinion, that also matters. In the current era of where we are with treating breast cancer, it has become very complicated, and we know that 43% of the time, patients will have a change in their diagnosis when they have a second opinion by a breast specialist at an NCI-designated cancer center. So those are very specifically the things that statistically studies have shown, and it can even be broken down into the whys of that, but it can change the treatment, and treatment is survival.
Tracey, I want to bring you back in because as you're going, because we're talking about you, but I want to ask you to tell us what was this like as you're kind of going down this journey? What questions did you have? You know, just what advice would you be giving to a woman who might be watching this, who maybe doesn't know she might face this down the road? I mean, how can she go into this with kind of the way you have handled this?
It was a difficult thing to do, but I trusted the process. You know, I trusted that what they were telling me was, you know, correct, and I just followed the journey as and followed the doctors as much as they advised me to do, and that really, even though it was scary, and I know women are scared, and it is a scary thing, but you know, I wanted to do everything I could to save my life, and so I followed all their direction, and it just took me through the journey, and I came out really great from it.
And here you are.
And here I am.
Here you are. We like that.
Yeah.
We know that some of you may have some questions for Tracey or Dr. Wagner. You can use the chat on YouTube or Facebook. You can email the Medical News Network. The information is there on your screen. Well, while folks are writing, I do have a couple more questions for you that I want to ask, because every October, the World Health Organization selects a theme for Awareness Month, and this year's theme is No One Should Face Breast Cancer Alone, right?
Absolutely.
Never. Tracey, you also lost part of your support system.
I did.
Over the past year, and you alluded to that.
I did.
It's hard to lose support when that's really what you're needing to gain.
Oh, definitely.
So, you know, what happened, and how did you stay upbeat and stay hopeful and move forward?
Well, I stood upbeat because I felt that I had a long life ahead of me, and yeah, losing your family. You know, my mom has dementia, and that was really hard because during that time you want your family, you want your mom, and she wasn't able to be there. So I relied on the doctors and best friends and my family at work. They were paramount, gave me so much support and love.
Dr. Wagner's kind of like a mama bear. She really is.
She is. She has been great. I mean, all of the medical team has been wonderful, and they've answered all of our questions. I could call any of their nurses at any time, and they would always answer anything, and they would always call me back timely and always just let us know that you know, everything was going to be okay.
And you got some pretty good girlfriends.
I do. I have great girlfriends.
Yeah. Got to have the girl power,
yes,
for sure.
Yes. Yes.
How does her attitude, Dr. Wagner, and just her will to say, I got lots of life to live. I've got an important life. I've got a mission. How does that really play into her journey and her survival?
Oh, the spirit of all of our patients will have a direct impact. It's hard. This journey and what we throw at patients, it is not easy. I know that we really focus on, first and foremost, and I appreciated Tracey bringing this up, is the education. We didn't just say, follow me blindly. I want to educate you, and you should feel educated. And there's always questions. I always tell patients at their first visit, the most important thing you're going to leave with today is our card with our phone number, because questions hit at the parking lot. That's what we expect when you have time to digest, because it's so much information. And I am very sincere when I tell patients I want them to call, and we will always answer their questions. But with that education, I think it empowers patients to feel strong so that they can have that will, that tenacity that Tracey demonstrated time and time again, to be able to push through. And we know that having positive outlooks just in general helps us heal.
It really does. Big power there.
Yeah.
I want to run some stats because breast cancer is the most common non-skin cancer for women, and current data shows that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in the U.S., and that's a scary stat when you know that we could look around in a room of people and you're looking at 8 women, so you do the numbers, right? Are you able to lessen the rate of breast cancer in women, or is it just all about early detection?
We are always striving to have prevention. Dr. Carol Fabian, Dr. Lauren Nye are phenomenal high risk and prevention medical oncologists. We have an outstanding program, and that's what across the country we are trying to do. But at the end of the day, we still have 1 in 8 women diagnosed with breast cancer. And the unfortunate reality right now is that the incidence is expected to go up in the coming years. So early detection, getting routine screening is going to be pivotal for having as many survivors as we can possibly make.
Tracey, do you talk and advocate when you have a moment to run into people who want to know more about your story?
I do all the time, all the time. And, you know, a lot of people are just like, I'm inspired by you, and you have such a great attitude, and you seem so happy. And I am happy. I'm happy, and I want to inspire other women that, you know, and I know it is hard, and if you are alone, just, you know, find it inside yourself to find the strength and power through. It's hard, I know, because I've done it. But lean on your friends, lean on your work family, lean on whoever you can to get through it.
Well, let's get to some questions and comments from our community this morning. Kim asked, how long should I wait to have a mammogram after having a lymph nodes biopsy?
I'm not exactly sure why the lymph node biopsy was performed, so that might play a part into what the right answer is to that question. In general, from a screening standpoint, we absolutely advocate that women begin screening mammograms at age 40, and it is every year. Annual is the way to go. And with that, also understanding your density. So just recently, the FDA has had regulations, which has gone through legislation, and it is a national mandate that all patients are reported by breast imaging centers what their breast density is. We need to now be looking at what those reports coming in the mail look like, and if it says that you have dense breast tissue and you need to consider additional imaging, that's where supplemental imaging is extremely important. At minimum, getting an ultrasound when you get your mammogram every year.
How important was that dense breast notification, you know, making that mandatory? How important is that now and down the road?
One of probably the most important things that we have done, I think, in the current era of treating breast cancer. 40% of patients, as we age, won't convert from dense breast tissue to having fatty replaced breast tissue. We know that women who have dense breast tissue and maintain that breast density have about a 4-fold increased risk of getting breast cancer. And what makes it tricky, which is why we recommend that supplemental screening, is because breast cancer is white on a mammogram and dense breast tissue is white. So when you put a white cancer inside of a white breast, it's like finding a cotton ball in snow. So it's much more challenging, and those other supplemental imaging modalities can really help illustrate that better.
You mentioned not everyone needs an MRI. Stu is asking, what indicates who needs a breast MRI?
So there's 2 different sides of breast MRIs. One is a screening, so patients who meet high-risk criteria, those that have been found to have a 20% or greater lifetime risk of getting breast cancer would qualify for routine screening MRIs, and our high-risk screening is a mammogram and an MRI every year, and we prefer to alternate them every 6 months. MRI, actually now we have what's called abbreviated MRI, so instead of a 45-minute diagnostic MRI, it's about 10 to 15 minutes. That has new indications and recommendations for consideration in that dense breast tissue population for supplemental screening. So that's something that patients could opt instead of an ultrasound, although we recognize that's very early data, so not all insurances will cover that. On the other side are patients who have had a diagnosis of breast cancer, and that really should be guided by the treatment team.
Michael asks, since men are not getting mammograms like women do, how is the cancer detected, and is it often in a later stage?
It's a great question. He's right. Men do not get screening mammograms. That's where physical exam is very important, but the amount of breast tissue is less, which often helps in early detection if men pay attention. It seems to be like this concern. I understand there can be a stigma with male breast cancer.
Yeah.
And so if you feel something that's abnormal in the breast, follow up with your primary care doctor, and don't let somebody just write it off because you are a man. We can do mammograms on men. We have a very talented crew that get that done when there is something abnormal, or just get an ultrasound. But like what you were also asking, oftentimes because it is overlooked, it's seen as, it's just a man, it can't be breast cancer. It progresses, so by the time they're diagnosed, it can often be more advanced.
Well, let's bring the men back into the conversation a little bit, because we have had a few cases and stories that we've shared here of men that have come forward and shared and said that they found one. And you said doing a self-exam. I don't know a lot of men who are doing self-breast exams. So what else should men be looking for, or partners of men that might touch or feel? Is there anything that we can help get them ahead of the game?
Absolutely. Any normal lump or bump, right? It is important overall for our health to understand what our body is. So it's not just breast. We should be doing physical exams and understanding what our body feels like. People's bodies are different, so just know what is normal, and then if something changes, then we should really be looking into that. Get that change explained. Some other changes other than just feeling a little nodule or a firmness in the breast could be if there's nipple changes, if the nipple starts to invert where it was not once, or if there's crusting, it becomes itching that had not been and continuing, skin puckering or skin redness. It really, for men, is the same of all the physical changes that we tell women, but they just need to follow through with that.
We all know somebody who has always are checking out their body. They always have some weird, suspicious thing going on, and it's usually probably nothing, but the fact that they're checking, you gotta love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeremy has a question for Tracey. What would you tell people who have never had a mammogram before that might be nervous to do it? What would be your advice?
My advice is, I've had other women that I know that I've talked to, and they're like, about my age or even older, and they're like, we've never done one. And my question is, why? Why? I know it's scary, but again, I'm one of those people, I want to know what's going on than not know. Because if I can save my life, if there's something is wrong, then I'm definitely going to do that.
Cindy asks, what difference staging makes in cancer survival?
Well, that's a great question. Staging today has changed a lot. I explain it to my patients that staging used to be on a trifold pocket little booklet that I could give to my trainees, and now it takes up about 4 or 5 pages in a textbook, because it is very specific and personalized to the type of cancer that patients have. Breast cancer has a lot of personality types, is how I think about it, and we want to tailor the treatment. And the stage ultimately is the prognosis, and that stage is made up of everything we know about the cancer on that given day of diagnosis. It's kind of like a mathematical formula. And then the formula translates into the stage number based on how well we know through history of breast cancer treatment and studies that we can treat that cancer.
Jo Cranston Woods is with us today. Good morning. Just mentioning that her mother survived stage 3 breast cancer, which we just loved to hear, and that's just great news. But also mentioned survived it with 28 lymph nodes involved. What does that mean?
So that means that she had what we refer to as locally advanced disease. It wasn't just in the breast, it had already metastasized into the lymph nodes on that same side. And as a result of there being many lymph nodes involved, they did a full X-ray lymph node dissection, removing all of the lymph nodes in her armpit area. And you said it was 23 of 28.
It was,
did I say that correctly?
No, you said it was 23, 28.
Yeah, so 23 lymph nodes had cancer in it of the 28 that they removed.
Stuart has a question. I hear the stat most common non-skin cancer for breast and prostate cancer. What's up with the non-skin cancer part? Why not just say the second most common?
That's a great question, Stu.
And we're going to find out. Yeah.
you know, skin cancer across the board is, regardless of what your gender is, very common.
Yes.
And there's a lot, and we understand the exposures because of the sun that, especially I would say my population, we weren't educated early enough about. But we see it across the board in men and women. So when we start breaking it down into gender specific, women are not going to get prostate cancer. Right? And so breast cancer, although it can be in men, it's much less common, and that's where it's the most common cancer specific to women.
I'm glad he asked that because I was wondering the same darn thing. Okay, Tracey, thank you just for being with us today.
Thank you.
And just sharing your story, be willing to sit here with us and being such a great inspiration. What do you want people to take away from your story?
I just want them to know that, you know, it will be okay. Just do what you can for yourself, lean on who you can, love life as much as you can, and I guess that's really all I have.
Dr. Wagner, always great to have you with us.
Thank you.
What do you want people to take away from this conversation?
Two things. Use Tracey as a guiding light and the power of positivity. We threw a lot at her. In the very beginning, and I kept telling her though that it's because we're going to get through this, but I have to give you the right treatment, and that is what all of this is going to do. And she took it and kept positive and kept moving forward. So the power of positivity. And then obviously, as you know, please go get your screening mammogram. Where you get your mammogram does matter. We saw that in Tracey's case. She couldn't be a better example of making sure that you're just getting the very best care across the board that is out there.
Tracey, I know it's been a really rough year.
It has.
But your purpose is grand.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. Do you promise you'll come back?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
If there's anything that I can help empower people or inspire them
I love that.
and keep that power of positive, I'm more than happy to do it.
We need lots of
Yeah.
it, so you'll be
Yeah.
back.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Okay, before we let you go, we have a little fun thing that you did yesterday. You surprised another breast cancer patient recently who was participating in Monday night's Crucial Catch game at the Chiefs. Crucial Catch is the annual NFL initiative for prevention and early detection of 7 screenable cancers, and we want to show everyone the big moment when 2 Chiefs defensive tackles presented Jill Shannon with tickets to Monday night's Crucial Catch game. Watch this.
We have some very special guests. Chiefs defensive tackles, Chris Jones and Mike Pennell.
Oh my God.
You know this woman. This is the woman that you grew up with. So that is so fantastic. Chris Jones had to duck out, but Mike Pennell had time to tour the cancer center, operating room. And it's just always so special to have. There's something about it. Just having the Chiefs walk in the halls
gosh, it was
and
so
just
fun.
and really just taking an interest in what we do here.
Yeah.
Taking an interest in our patients and wanting to make their day better. But you have this special connections. This is somebody you grew up with, and then she turned cancer patient. What was that like for you to kind of be reunited during a time when things aren't so great?
Yeah, Jill and I were very good friends all through childhood and into high school. And as we all know, we leave high school and the next part of our lives and kind of went our separate ways. And she contacted me through Facebook Messenger of all things, which I am not on frequently, actually. So the fact that I picked this up, I think, was a God moment. And she had told me she had just been diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. And I told her, I'm like, you have to come see me. And we got her in, just like every other patient, went through the same process that I know we've talked about here numerous times. Her cancer was changed because of additional imaging. It went from 3 centimeters to over 7 centimeters, changed all of her treatment plans. She is 2.5, almost 3 years out as a survivor, and she's doing phenomenally well.
And you're going to be one of 7 doctors at that game on Monday night. How important is it that the NFL participate in this and really shine a light on the importance of screenings?
I am truly humbled as an oncologist to see the NFL across this country use their platform to save lives. And that's what they are doing every month of October when they do these Crucial Catch games, is raising awareness, I'm really excited. They always have the "I'm cheering for" signs at the game, and it gives me chills every time that I see that, because we really start to see how much cancer touches every one of our lives.
Yeah, playing football and Chiefs games, that's cool and all, but saving lives is way better.
Yeah, and they're helping be a part of that process, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
Very cool. Have fun.
Thank
Have
you.
fun Monday. All right, thanks to our guests today. Thanks to our viewers for being with us. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here Monday. Coming up Monday on the Morning Medical Update. 4 people in need, 4 willing kidney donors, and 1 giant effort to connect them all. I'm Jessica Lovell on the next Morning Medical Update. An 8-person kidney chain. Meet the altruistic donor who brought 7 others together to create a life-saving chain. Monday at 8.
Subscribe to our Morning Medical Update and Open Mics with Dr. Stites podcast. Now everywhere podcasts are available.